It's great to be back with all of you again today. We are joined. We are joined. You know, I must tell you that when I was invited to speak today, I thought that all my years of public service, and I have spent most of my life in public service, I never imagined that there would be a day whereby my beliefs, my values, the liberty and freedoms that I cherish would put me in front of 1400 Pennsylvania Avenue, pleading for my country and my president to do the right thing, to delist the MEK, to provide them the protection, and give them the opportunity to assemble at some future time. To give them the opportunity at some future time in the streets of Tehran to do the same thing they're doing in the streets of Washington, D.C. Democratic protest. I'm here to join several other speakers with whom I'm honored to be joined in this noble cause, and literally dozens of others, and we're talking about Republicans and Democrats, conservatives and liberals, military and diplomatic leaders who served in Republican and Democrat administrations. You know, this is not a town where there's much bipartisan cooperation going on, but this is an issue that is apolitical for each and every one of us. There is a legitimate Democratic opposition group in Iran. Iran, the #1 terrorist state in the world, probably the most responsible for destabilizing Middle East. There's one major Democratic opposition group, that's the MEK. They need to get off the foreign terrorist organization list so they can do what the Iranian people want them to do. We gather here in a very peaceful demonstration because we're concerned that if we don't do the right thing, the 3,400 unarmed residents, men and women, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, whom the United States of America pledged to protect when they surrendered their weapons back in 2004. It's time for us to do the right thing. It's time for us to follow the law. Much has been said about the president's legal education as a constitutional lawyer. Much has been written about the quality of his legal education. And so I would simply ask my president, and he is my president, to follow the law. This is a country founded on a constitution. This is a country founded on the rule of law. It's not about politics, Mr. President. It's about looking at the statute, and if you look at it clearly and look at the evidence, this is not a group that should be on the foreign terrorist organization list. The only group that should be on the list is the country of Iran itself under the rule of the mullahs. My president, that the law is clear. The obligation is equally clear, Mr. President. We made a commitment. We signed promises to these residents that we would provide protection for them. And our United States military did that until the change in status of forces agreement, and we gave that responsibility to the Maliki government. They have failed to live up to their responsibility, and in doing so, we have failed to live up to our commitment to the people of Camp Ashraf. It is undeniably morally bankrupt for us as a country to make a promise to keep people safe and secure and then fail to deliver on that promise. The obligation is clear, Mr. President. We must delist the MEK, call for the Security Council of the United Nations to provide the protection that they need, call on the Maliki government to extend beyond the December 31st deadline the opportunity for these individuals to continue to live in Camp Ashraf until they can be repatriated. And Mr. President, you need to know this. You need to know this, Mr. President. The failure of this country for 15 years to negotiate some kind of arrangement with Iran is known to the world. This has not worked as a ploy. The notion that somehow by putting 3,400 people at risk to improve our bargaining position with the government of Iran has failed miserably. Look what happened a couple of weeks ago. Less than 10 days ago, we found an audacious plan for the Iranian government, probably going to the highest levels of the government, to assassinate foreign ambassador in the United States in a Washington restaurant, not only killing the ambassador, but killing American citizens. You cannot negotiate with Iran. What you need to do... I wish I had the Washington Post article with me this morning. On the front page it says, we will withdraw our troops from Iraq by the end of the year. And that article lists, Mr. President, as you make a commitment on a promise you made during the campaign, that during the course of our service over there, as we sent probably nearly 1 million men and women over almost an 8-year period, become self-determining, democratic. We've lost 4,400 men and women. Well, there are a lot of Gold Star mothers and Gold Star fathers out there who mourn the loss of their sons and their daughters, as all of America should. There's even thousands more that come home with unspeakable injuries given to the nature and the violence of this particular war. But the one consolation that I believe and I hope in my heart as a former soldier myself that the mothers and fathers of the dead and the wounded can take is some kind of measure to believe that their sons and daughters' sacrifice was not in vain. And we hope that that has brought Iraq to a place in the community of nations where there is respect for other nations and respect for our value system. There is one glaring, horrible, unspeakable picture in Camp Ashraf, north of Baghdad, where the same government that we've sent thousands to die for and spent trillions of dollars has not lived up to the promise of America, not lived up to the promise that we committed to these people of Camp Ashraf. How can we possibly as a country look a mother and father in the eye who's lost a son or a daughter in that country and say their sacrifice was worthwhile when we let this government, the Maliki government, on 2 occasions go in to kill 36 innocent, defenseless people? Mr. President, it's time to act. Delist the MEK, give them the protection we promised, and do it now. Time is running out. You know, ladies and gentlemen, as Secretary of Homeland Security, every day I used to go to work. Before I got to the White House, we gave us a list of threats. I must tell you, in my experience as both Assistant to the President for Homeland Security and as First Secretary, not once, not on one occasion, and there were hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of threats directed at the United States of America, did I ever see a threat directed to the United States from the people of Camp Ashraf, from the People's Mujahideen of Iran, not once. Remember also this, in 2004, our FBI and our Department of Justice went and interrogated every man and woman at Camp Ashraf. And remember this, they concluded unequivocally, without hesitation, none of those individuals had been involved in a terrorist act. They saw no evidence whatsoever that their desire, inclination, attitude, aptitude, or anything else was related to disrupting America, attacking America, or American citizens. No terrorist activity. And even further, the European Union and the United Kingdom assembled jurists. And here I'm calling on my president, who is a lawyer, who said, let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at the evidence. They both concluded that the MEK is not a terrorist organization. As a matter of fact, the UK said even keeping this group on the terrorist list is perverse. And then our own court, right here in Washington, D.C., the Court of Appeals, said there's nothing in the record to keep these men and women on the terrorist list. The terrorists are in Tehran. They're the mullahs. They're Ahmadinejad. They're the team that will take on this terror around the world.